right. How RTS games are threatened by technology itself. By a voxel.
Let's talk real-time strategy.
All right.
Do you have fond memories of playing real-time strategy games? Do
A
you get a
little.
little
Like my experience with RTS is very limited, but it is there. um, I played the last RTS game I played. If you exclude Dota and Heroes of the Storm and League of Legends, if you exclude those, I think it was like on Xbox 360, which is like hilarious to say because that's not the intended like uh machine and input to experience RTS on. It was like a Lord of the Rings game on Xbox 360, and what was it? You had like the dwarf faction, the elf faction, the human faction. It was like I think there was like goblins, Urukai, and was there one more? I don't remember. And I never played Halo Wars, but again, that's like a console RTS. And I mean, because back in the day, I was just a console bro, just playing games when I was like super young. I didn't have a computer or let alone the internet speed to enjoy games or at least online games like that. Um, I never played Warcraft or anything like that, but I did watch. I mean, I have like watched my friends play it, and it was like kind of interesting, but I never watched any of the what do you call it, like the esports scene or anything like that.
spike of adrenaline when you hear that your favorite devs of your favorite series are working on something new and exciting? Do you sit at your window like a love-struck puppy waiting for the news to arrive that an RTS is finally worth playing again? Well, don't, because RTS is dead. If you're like me, you enjoy playing a variety of experiences. If you love a good story, you want to watch something that you haven't seen before. You know how boring it is to play something that feels a little bit derivative. If you're a nerd about new game experiences, then you are constantly searching for something that hasn't been done before. And if you like to just vibe in your games, well, sometimes a change of scenery is enough to keep things fresh.
Yeah.
But we've all gotten to that point where it feels like games are getting a bit stale. Things are feeling a little bit samey. But in no
Not necessarily. I mean, 2023 just happened, and that was an awesome year for video games.
genre have I felt this more than in real-time strategy games lately. Why? I've played about as much RTS as I have of shooters and RPGs and simulation games, but I haven't been able to bring myself to buy, let alone play a new RTS in many, many years. So you're not alone.
That's fair.
If you felt the same way about the genre. While a slew of RTS games are slated to release this year and next, I'm still waiting to feel something, anything, about any of them.
I mean, for me, I like casually playing RTSs. Like I'll just do the story and then that's it. I don't want to interact with the PvP aspect of it because it's such a niche skill. You know, because like when I was older and I started understanding like how people played RTSs in later years with like the actions per minute, like 100, 200, 300 APM, and it all that is like just people memorizing keybinds when they're on like a certain unit or like when they go to click something or something like that. It's like it's dizzying as a casual person. Like RTS to me is like PoE with in terms of like how complex like the skill ceiling can get, and like, you know, you open up that like that giant skill tree or whatever and it's just like, what the hell is that? You see like some top tier players playing and it's like, this is like the pinnacle. It's like, Jesus, let me just enjoy the story and then just call it a day.
In my eyes, RTS is dead and has been for a little while. But this isn't a video about why RTS is dead. It's a video about whether the death of RTS was inevitable. I'm Max Neal, and this is Voxel.
Was it dead on arrival?
So first off, real-time strategy means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Technically, Stellaris is a real-time strategy game, but it's also a 4X game, and it doesn't look anything like other titles in the genre. So I want to say up front that when we talk about real-time strategy games in this video, I mean games like StarCraft and Command and Conquer, where the core of the game takes place in skirmishes between 2 or more factions, and where players need to build buildings and command units in order to achieve victory. We'll get into the subgenres of RTS in a little bit, but when we talk about the death of something, I think it's important to start about how it came about in the first place. So let me bring you back.
Oh boy.
Oh, not that far back.
Oh Jesus, you got me.
Okay, that's better. It's 1992 and someone—
Bro, look at that. What the fuck is this? This is clearly a wired controller, but it just got cut. This is an M&K player that was once a controller player, and they decided to cut the cord. More people should do this, by the way.
Someone in Britain is growing quite fond of sand. Martin Alper, founder of Mastertronic and president of British games publisher Virgin Games, gets his hands on the digital distribution rights to Dune. And through a series of backroom dealings that Aaron Burr would no doubt love to have been a part of, offers the rights to French developer Cryo Interactive to develop and release Dune for DOS and Amiga.
This is way before my time.
The game loosely followed the story from the original Dune novel. It was a mix of real-time strategy and adventure elements. You play as Paul Atreides, stuck in a political struggle between House Atreides and House Harkonnen for control over the galaxy's most valuable resource. Oregano. I mean thyme. I mean spice. The player needs to balance their efforts on the planet Arrakis between spice production and maintaining military efforts against the Harkonnens up until a final battle.
Oh, it's the big fat guy.
And yay, you did it. In a story of game development that is—
Bro, for its time, like, this little image is actually pretty good for something back in the day. Granted, this is supposed to be like a like realistic for its time, and this is like what the game actually looks like, but this is actually pretty nice.
Almost too real. Cryo Interactive ran into difficulties during production that led them to lose the rights to create the sequel to Dune. A mistake that would actually lead to the creation of the prototypical RTS as we know it today. So with Cryo Interactive out of the picture, Martin Alper does the reasonable thing and approaches Westwood Studios to develop Dune 2, the sequel to Dune, where you play exactly the same story a second time. Let's release the game in the exact same year as the original. Why not?
Oh God, that is such a— and this is like a hindsight thing. But for him to say that, like, they released a game, they lost the rights to it or whatever, and then the other people got it, and they just released it again. It's like, bro, if that were to happen today, that studio would be like chastised, like, with how dumb they are.
Where a modern AAA publisher would have likely cut their losses and run, Virgin wanted to squeeze the Dune IP of every last ounce of spice it had. And it's good they
hilarious.
did. Westwood developed a game both inspired by Herzog 2, one of the first examples of real-time—
Bro, imagine if that was actually a thing that game devs did. Like, they just make up a new IP, make a game, and they're like— because, you know, like, most of the games that get released, most of their sales are done in like a month or so. Imagine like some AAA dev makes a game, sell it, and then they're just like, okay, we made all our money back and then some, we made some profits, and then they're just like, yeah, we don't need it anymore. We're just gonna let you guys have it. And then some other studio tries to do the same thing, but it just doesn't reach the same level because everybody has already had their way with it already. Imagine if that was like how the gaming industry worked.
Strategy and this. The Mac operating system. Dune 2 was conceived as a game focused on the battle over Arrakis and the stress and competition between 3 factions living on the planet: House Atreides, House Harkonnen, and House Ordos, a house that was never actually brought up in the books. I think it may have even been created by Westwood themselves just for the game.
Oh,
This conflict made sense to play out as a war game, something that had already been done in 1979 with the release of the original Dune board game, but now it could be brought into the digital space. Combining Herzog Zwei's fast-paced combat, the Mac's use of the mouse to interact with on-screen elements, and Westwood
that's the
Studios'
mouse?
vision for the universe, Dune 2 was born. While individually, the game's mechanics were borrowed from various inspirations around game.
bro, this is the fog of war. It's so tiny. Like your field of vision. Oh my god. Like there could be bad guys like just looming outside this darkness right there, and you're just like trying to get by.
Gaming, Dune 2's combination of mouse control and fog of war served as the prime example for RTS games to come. We didn't know it at the time, but the 90s were going to become the golden age for RTS.
Dang.
From 1992 to 1999, the most iconic real-time strategy games got their start. The Settlers, Warcraft, Command and Conquer,
Yep.
Age of Empires, Total Annihilation.
Wait, what was that? Age of Empires.
Settlers, Warcraft, Command and Conquer, Age of Empires.
Bro, this was the one that I played. Age of Empires. Oh my god. I remember going to my buddy's house. And was this during high school or middle school? I don't remember. But I would always go. I remember now. I would always go to like my buddy's house, and there were like two brothers. Alex and Donnie. And they would have they would have a console, and they would have a computer. Like they were the cool kids. Like I'd go over there, and what'd they have? I think they had an Xbox and a PlayStation, and they had like one of those big chunky computers. But oh my god. And we would like, if someone were to try to play, like every match would be like a couple hours or whatever. And I don't remember if we were doing story or if we were doing like PvP. Oh my gosh, dude. This is like, I remember taking turns and trying to figure out this game, dude.
Total Annihilation, Anno, StarCraft, and Baldies. You remember Baldies, right?
What?
Baldies? Baldies! These games were able to run on almost any modern PC and some on Mac if you were heathen, and that made them available to a growing demographic, the PC gamer.
Yeah.
Since the 90s, we've seen a few examples of RTS on consoles, Halo Wars being among them, but
Yo, where the Lord of the Rings one at, dude?
Dune 2 proved that RTS belonged on keyboard and mouse. You just needed a dad who didn't think that video games are making the AOL slow.
Yep.
Don't worry, Dad.
Yeah.
They aren't. For a while, it felt like there was no end in sight for the genre. I mean, Age of Mythology gave us flying purple hippos that rainbows. Well, voo.
What?
But Dune 2's standard that defined the genre may have also given it an expiration date. For some reason, the release of quality RTS games in recent times has become more and more rare.
Oh?
Why? Well, around this time,
What happened?
something sinister was brewing. Something that would bring about the death of RTS as we knew it. And it would come from inside the genre itself.
Oh,
The release of
wait, was this the remake of Warcraft?
Warcraft 3 in 2002 marks a historical moment in the gaming world, not just because
Or no,
of the
no.
game's commercial success and birth of my mommy Sylvanas, but rather because of this. See, back in the day, game developers were pretty loosey-goosey with their own games and game engines, and there was
Alright.
a trend in the early 2000s where you could create your own maps, mods, even entirely new game modes
That's pretty
inside of a
cool.
game's world editor, similar to what you can
Yeah, I mean, that's how we got like Dota, right? Defense of the Ancients came from like the Warcraft, some Warcraft mod called Defense of the Ancients. And yeah,
do inside of Fortnite or Roblox or Halo Forge or some modern RTSs today. Well, Warcraft 3 had a world editor bundled with the game that empowered anyone with more creativity than I did as a kid to make just about any game they could think of in the engine.
that's cool though.
This was the birthplace of Defense of the Ancients, a Warcraft 3 modded game mode where two teams of 5 players controlled a single hero unit each and competed on a shared map to destroy the other team's ancient, located in the center of
Bro, I remember going to my other buddy's house. His name was Caleb, and he tried to get me to play this game. And like I would always be asking him like, "Oh, what should I buy next? What should I buy next?" And he'd always have to like yell out like, buy these, buy those." Because I was just so young and I had like no like concept of what the hell I was doing. I was just like clicking around, like trying to figure out, "Oh, you're supposed to be last hitting the minions. Oh, that's how you get the money. Oh, okay." And then once you get enough money, then you go back to base, and then you're supposed to pick up like stuff that either makes you tanky or stuff that makes you, what do you call it? Like hit harder. I had no concept of what the hell was going on.
Of their respective bases. It was the beginning of what would become the MOBA genre, the multiplayer
Yeah.
online battle arena,
Yep.
and the beginning of the end for RTS. See, Defense of the Ancients started as a side project by Kyle Summer, inspired by a similar custom game mode in StarCraft's world editor that had been created years prior. Eventually, Summer moved on from the project and released the game's source code, and what started as a small idea over time became much, much bigger. Once Defense of the Ancients code was public, several spin-offs of the scenario popped up that would add new heroes, new items, new game mechanics. Dota, as it's called today, became the most popular modded game mode for Warcraft 3. So popular that I know personally several people who bought the game just to play Dota with their friends and
funny.
didn't touch the RTS competitive and campaign modes.
That is really funny. Like fuck the damn like campaign. Just give me the PvP. Give me the ranked mode. That's so
Now,
funny.
I'm not saying that MOBAs were the reason behind a shift in mass market game design, but MOBAs were the reason behind a shift in mass market game design.
That's actually funny.
Because the genres were so closely related,
Smite.
MOBAs offer a similar tactical
Is it Smite?
experience to RTS games, but the MOBA genre has had an even bigger effect on the gaming industry as a whole due to how it addresses complexity. Dota hit a sweet spot where players could jump into a game with a single hero, a handful of abilities, and play a competitive match without much learning needed at all. Look at this little cutie. It doesn't take long to figure out that Meat Hook drags opponents to you, Rot releases a damaging gas cloud, and Flesh Heap protects you from damage. Now, get out there, you little sack of flesh, go get some W's. This is the perfect example of a game with a low barrier to entry or a low skill floor, and a high potential for mastery or a high
Easy to learn, hard to master. That's like one of the magical formulas for any video game to be successful.
skill ceiling. A game that is both simple to learn but hard to master.
Yep.
In your first match of League of Legends, you're given a character with 6 abilities at the bottom of the screen, a pouch full of gold, and nothing else. Competitive play takes place on the same map every single game.
Yep.
You can experience a victory by relying on your allies even if you are absolute dog tier. And you can play the game for years in the same role, maybe even using the same.
And you can play the same the same game for many years and completely not improve at all.
Champion, as long as you play to your character's strengths and avoid their weaknesses. Play and mastery come down to mechanical and tactical prowess, and how well you can rage bait the enemy team in chat. Now, despite birthing the MOBA, RTSs are sometimes infuriatingly complex.
Ah, dang.
To win a competitive match in an RTS, you have to understand the strength and weaknesses, sometimes of over 60 units. You have to learn unique faction capabilities and building orders and memorize various maps and resources.
Yeah, but that's like the meta of the game. I mean, a lot of people think meta gaming has like ruined modern gaming, period. But, or at least, whenever someone says like metagaming ruined modern gaming, it's like, yes, it's true, but there's a little context behind it. Because like, I think when like back in the day, in like 1990s or 1980s, whatever, maybe 2000s, like when a game gets released, people are already going to try to take the path of least resistance to get the most desirable result that they want. That's just a thing that people just do. The thing that, what do you call it? Like made metagaming blow up so much is social media, like YouTube, like anything that you can make a video and share with someone how you play the game at X level. You're just sharing knowledge. So it's not necessarily metagaming that ruined modern gaming. It's just the sharing of knowledge and how easy it is to do nowadays that ruin modern gaming.
Source locations, military tactics, and tech trees. As a single-player game, RTSs might throw you a softball in the form of a campaign, but playing against someone who knows what they're doing is humbling, to say the least.
Yeah.
In that way, the genre has a high skill ceiling and a relatively high skill floor. In an age where there are so many great games to experience, do you really want to spend hours of free time combing through wiki articles and Reddit posts about topics like how many drones you should be making?
Oh, Jesus.
The answer to that, by the way, is,
I don't know.
I mean, hey,
Yeah.
if you do, more power to you. Most
No.
people don't. The active player...
No, I'm not, like, if I... This is like another thing that is happening in the FPS genre. I mean, either console or PC, controller or M&K. Video games have been out and FPSs have been out for so long now. Like the gradual, like people are just going to over time, and I say people, not like individuals. This happens like at a different rate. The masses of people just slowly get better over time. It's an inevitability that just happens. So not only is this happening with RTS, but I think this is also happening with FPS. You know, like look at the finals that came out just recently. Like a ton of, what do you call it? Like M&K players like just flock to the finals because the movement feels good, the gunplay feels good, and nobody really knew anything about how aim assist works, so everyone's just gonna like just throw their heads at the new FPS to try to get ahead. But we'll see what happens with that game. But what was I saying? Yeah, so like a lot of the people that are playing the finals, like yes, there's like a gradual, like a standard bell curve to the, at least the rank mode. Pubs is whatever. But I would say if you're playing like the ranked mode on the finals, chances are like you're probably at least like, I would have to say you're like at least above average, like in terms of like the FPS mechanical skill, like at least a little bit, compared to something, I don't know, like Call of Duty or I don't know, Valorant or something like that. I don't know. That's just what I think.
Trend for RTSs back this up, and game publishers are catching on. There's a trend in the gaming industry towards instant gratification. This idea that the player should feel capable and powerful within the first few minutes of play. This might take the form of providing frequent short competitive matches, or by giving you a teaser of what your character will feel like in 60 levels. There's no better example of this than in Fortnite, where in your first game, you get pitted against a lobby of all bots without telling you.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
Then in your second game, you're thrown in with the sharks.
I
Game
didn't know
design
that.
like this
That's
is
crazy.
a symptom of increasing competition between game publishers for your most valuable resource.
Yeah.
No, not your spice, your time.
Yep.
And so MOBAs,
Because the more time you invest in a video game, the more likely you are to spend money on the microtransactions of that video game. I'm assuming he's talking about like live service, like multiplayer games as well.
their low barrier to entry provide a similar tactical
Like free-to-play
experience
stuff.
to real-time strategy games, but without the prerequisite degree in RTSology.
Yeah.
But hey, multiple genres can exist in harmony. MOBAs alone didn't
Yeah.
pull out a hit on the RTS. Over time, the genre itself splintered into several subgenres.
Really?
Real-time tactics games like Company of Heroes 3 or the upcoming Warhammer Realms of Ruin feature controllable units without the need or worry to build buildings. That leaves the player to focus almost purely on the good stuff, the combat. Grand strategy games like Crusader Kings and Total War would take wargaming to a whole new level, where the player's focus is less about recruiting individual units and more on the greater strategic moves, like marrying your brother to your...
What? Children will be born into House Serenu? Kurenu. Chance of children medium. They are related and there is a risk of their children being inbred. Oh my god. This is this is actually funny. This is so funny, dude. And this is probably pretty true if this game's like like trying to draw from like back in the day, like Game of Thrones type times. Yeah.
Aunt? Yeah, things got kind of weird. Every combat in a
I mean, it wasn't weird back then. Back then, it was normal.
grand strategy game represents a small step towards a greater goal, and games can last tens of hours or longer. And then, of course, there's the big daddy of strategy, the 4X. Explore, exploit, expand, and exterminate! Dang,
What?
a Doctor Who 4X game would actually be really freaking awesome. As computing became capable of handling the scope of intergalactic warfare in real time, 4X games rose in popularity. Stellaris puts you in control of a galactic empire vying for entire star systems against
Jesus.
often intelligent alien species. And that's not to mention the countless turn-based strategy games like XCOM that offer similar strategic challenges.
Bro, I honestly tried to give XCOM like a freaking good ass attempt. I didn't look at any guides or anything like that. And I don't know. I just sucked at it. And I was like, I don't know how many hours I have in it. I just like quit it. I think I have like 10 hours or something like that in it. And I was just like, okay, I clearly am not the target audience. I'm like, I gave it a shot and I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna waste my time.
Challenges to RTSs, but often on a much larger scale. When we talk about the death of someone, it's often an opportunity to talk about their legacy, and real-time strategy's greatest legacy is perhaps how it spawned so many incredible experiences across gaming.
All right.
There's something I've noticed, though, across the history of video games. I'm dubbing it the technology leapfrog. We're prone to enjoying playing games that feel like an improvement on what we've played in the past, or at the very least,
Yeah.
not an identical carbon copy. And we feel let down by games that feel stagnant, or worse, games that don't fulfill their potential. I'm looking at you, Pokemon!
Oh, that's true. That's a fair assessment, dude.
That's why several games in a genre could release in the same year, but still all be worth playing, assuming they provided an interesting story, or a different setting, or a unique take on the genre as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
Given enough time, though, it is possible to run out of novel ideas. Just look at the
I think
state
so.
of FPS games in the 2000s.
Yeah.
For about a decade, we were stuck in the age of World War II shooters.
Yep.
Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, and Battlefield.
Bro, like I remember going to my buddy, I think it was Daniel. His name was Daniel. I remember going to Daniel's house on his PlayStation 1. And what was this? I think this was in like middle school. And I did not exactly enjoy going to his house because I think like either his mom or dad or one or the other was like a heavy smoker. And every time I went in his house, it was just hard to breathe. So, but he had a PlayStation and he had Medal of Honor. And we were playing Medal of Honor on that thing. And it was just like in real life in Medal of Honor where you're shooting guns and you're throwing grenades and like there's like explosions, there's smoke going on. Like you just take a whiff of Daniel's house and it's just like, oh, it's just like I'm really there. Jesus.
Were all releasing FPSs set in the same era, and it was starting to get old. But we played them because at the time, the technology of games was advancing so rapidly that each title was a technical and graphical improvement on the last. This is the technology leapfrog. If a genre is starting to get old, if it feels like developers are running out of ideas, a game that is technically impressive can reel us back in again, even if it's set in an era or a setting that we've played before.
Yeah.
And maybe,
like, honestly, if somebody made like another World War II game and they came out with some like a gameplay loop that like just felt better, or for whatever reason they just made it better than like your standard Call of Duty type thing, yeah, I'd give it a shot for sure.
that's the reason why RTS feels like it's dying.
Oh,
The technology behind real-time strategy games has reached a sort of plateau, and we've pretty much
Yeah.
seen it all.
you can't really innovate much on RTS as it seems. I mean, bro, even from like a spectator perspective, like I don't play any RTS at all. But I was watching like some RTS tournament, like I think it was StarCraft, and it's very jarring to watch. Like, you know how in movies, or at least modern movies, whenever they try to do like a fight scene between two like unskilled people that have no idea like how to fight, where it's just like cutting to one thing, like it'll be like a 10-second scene will have like 8 cuts in it. Like you see the punch getting thrown, cut, all right, and then you gotta the punch connecting with the person, okay, it's cut, and you go to the next one. It's like then you got the face, and it recoils, and it's like, okay, cut, and then the person spins or falls on the floor, is another cut, and then you got the other cut where it's like, oh, the good guy is like staring down at the bad guy, and like, okay, it's another cut, and it's like, that's kind of what it seems like for RTS, because like whenever like I think like the good action movies were like, of course, the Jackie Chan movies, because he's zoomed out and you can see the whole fight and the choreography and what's going on. Your mind can keep up with it. With RTS, there was never any point where the camera is just like so zoomed out that you can see what is going on when like armies are starting to like try to, I don't know, scout out, like trying to take over an area, or trying to what do you call it, I don't know, just get past like the little standard routes. I mean, I don't know anything about the meta game of StarCraft or whatever. There was just, anytime I watched it, it was just like, cut here, okay, I'm watching something, I'm watching the blue team, and then it's like, okay, cut to the red team, okay, and then cut to this other thing, and then okay, they're just like building shit, and then it's just like, oh my god, these two units are fighting. It's like, well, where the fuck? It's just so jarring with like how it looks.
Armies face off in ancient mythology, armies face off in World War II, armies face off in space. Strict RTS games haven't seen much innovation in recent years. Maybe we get some graphical improvements. Okay, we're in 3D now. Maybe we get a few new units. Maybe we get a new campaign. But I think once Supreme Commander and Planetary Annihilation came out, where you could control hundreds of units on a galactic scale simultaneously and manage multiple planets,
Oh dang.
I felt like there wasn't gonna be much better than this. The gameplay experience of the RTS remains largely unchanged since Dune 2.
Yeah.
Is what I'd written until I got word of a new game in development at Bohemia Interactive called Silica.
Oh.
Silica combines elements of RTS and FPS gameplay into competitive matches between 2 or more teams of players.
Those are like two polarizingly opposite skills. That is crazy to try to blend the two. I'm kind of curious.
Each team has one player assume the role of the commander from a traditional top-down RTS perspective. The commander builds buildings and trains and commands units, while the commander's teammates contribute by taking direct first-person control of the units on the ground, either as human combatants.
Oh, okay. If that's the gameplay, I don't know, man.
Or as a roly-poly, man-eating alien.
Oh god, that looks horrible for an FPS. Oh Jesus.
Control of the units on the ground, either as
like,
human combatants.
Go back.
Builds buildings and trains and commands units, while the commander's teammates contribute by taking direct first-person control of the units on the.
Okay, so this looks fine, but like all that flat, like this is horrible. Like this entire, like this is, I would say, like what is this? Like a quarter, at least a quarter of your screen is just covered up by the gun. Even, yes, it's like scoped in, like your ADS or whatever. Like this is, oh god.
The ground, either as human
combatants
or as a roly-poly man.
Oh my god. What is this? This is horrible FPS gameplay. Did this game come out already, or is it still in development? Please, somebody help this developer and tell them to get rid of this. If they are thinking about anything, if the word esports is popping up in their head and they're gonna leave this in, this is just a no, a straight no, dude. I mean, but it looks like all right. I would have to, like, I don't know, see it and play it to try to, but just like off of looks, like there's something about developers, or at least developers of FPS games, where in order, if they're thinking about the word esports, the thing that hinders it is the visual clutter of the game, because it's like they have no idea how hard it is to like just aim on M and K with all these like fireworks happening in your face. Oh my gosh.
Eating alien species. Silica borrows inspirations from games
I mean, this
that
looks
came
cool
before
though.
it, like Natural Selection 2, but it is a breath of spice-free fresh air from recent RTS.
You get to play as like a, I don't know, like a bug race or some shit. This is like the FPS part. Bro, that'd be actually pretty cool. To have like, what are the team sizes? Is it like 4v4 or something, 3v3 or something like that? Like you have like one commander person, which is just a goat at RTS, and then you have like 3 FPS players just down in the trenches. I think that like in concept, that's a really cool idea. I am just not sold on the execution of it yet.
Releases. In fact, Silica is leveraging for its benefit exactly what threatened the RTS genre in past years: advances in technology. As powerful computing becomes more available, games like Silica are able to meld physics-based FPS gameplay into the RTS genre.
Oh.
And it's exactly that sets Silica apart from other titles. I reached out to Bohemia Interactive and Martin Melichorek, the game's sole developer, to get his take on the game and the state of the RTS genre. And here's what he had to say about it. I think about, creativity. There's this great quote, and I'm going to misquote it, but this quote that has stuck with me was that the purpose of creativity is give to future generations what was not given to us. But you have had this idea kind of brewing in you, and to be able to put that out into the world must be, I hope, an exciting, really, really positive, really, really fun experience for you.
You want to pass on to the next generations experiences which you really wanted to have but could not, for technological reasons and whatever. Would someone remake Dune 2 as it was today? Well, there's not much point, is there? And that was the thing which there I really wanted to kind of like experience the action, because there was big fiery explosions.
I mean, if they wanted to make Dune 2, I mean, just look at how they handled the Warcraft Reforged thing
as well. And I really wanted to, like, the vehicles were fantastic design. I want to experience that immersion.
That's a pretty cool concept. Like, imagine RTS but with Battlefield and like different factions with different vehicles. That's actually a pretty cool idea.
I would define it as your brain is convinced you are there, despite you physically not being there, of course. That we all know that feeling when you're running from something and you're running and that door's closing in front of you, you got that enemy right behind you, and you see the bullets bouncing off the walls, and you're like, and you get that stress, that specific feeling of stress, and you're like, and you make like secrets being told now, right? But
that was just a small part of an hour-long interview with Martin. We talked about his inspirations as a game designer, the effect that fatherhood had on the game, and who exactly Silica was being made for. If you want to watch the whole interview, you can check it out.
Bro, it seems like Silica is pretty ambitious, I would say, because like, who's your target audience for this? Either FPS or RTS, which is like two genres that have like literally zero overlap, and you're trying to like mush them together. I mean, hey, I'll keep a lookout for it.
Now for free in its entirety over on Patreon at patreon.com/voxelshow, where we're hosting it completely free. But it's also where you can support me and the team that makes Voxel happen. Silica proves there are still plenty of new stories to tell, new ideas that could be explored through the genre. But I think that real-time strategy has reached the end of its technology leapfrog.
Yeah.
Silica is one example of how RTS continues to inspire future game design, though I admit it sort of breaks the rule I set for ourselves at the start of the video. It is a hybrid genre game, not a strict RTS.
Yeah, but you could still use it in the video because it's still kind of RTS.
So the question remains, with games in the genre feeling derivative at this point, was the death of the RTS genre inevitable? Has RTS died?
It kind of seems like it.
There are a slew of upcoming RTS games slated for the next few years. Is it even possible for something to be created?
Like maybe in the next 5 years, it'll still like slowly die off. But maybe another question would be like, what's it going to look like in 10 years, in 15, 20 years? Is there ever going to be like a spike back up? I mean, I don't know. If I were to guess, I'd say probably not.
That we haven't seen before? Or have we reached the innovative limit of the genre itself? And if so, what does that mean for the future of FPSs or puzzle games or simulation games of other genres? You know what I want to know? I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And I just want to take a moment to say, holy crap, thank you so much for 10,000 subscribers. You all have blown me away with how quickly the channel has moved and grown. It is absolutely freaking amazing. Thank you for your support.
This is a great video.
And for being a part of the conversations that we have here, because that's what Voxel is all about. Anyway, you know what's up. Hit me with your thoughts down in the comments. We want to hear from you. The conversation that we start around games.
And also, I just like the layout of this type of video, where he's like putting himself in there and like having pieces of like gameplay. I like this layout. This is cool.
Is core, in my opinion, to what Voxel really is. So I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, see you later, gamers.
Nice. Bro, this is cool. I liked it. 100%, man. I want to see more. What the fuck? What the fuck is with all the downvotes? It's all like it's a good ass fucking video. That's probably like all the angry StarCraft people like bitch moan complaining about, oh, StarCraft 2 isn't dying. Oh man. This was good. I like it. I want to see more. So that's pretty much it for me, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.